Back to the Nutrimedical Report Live, and we have some remarkable wellness guests to come in on the program today. We'll be talking to Tom Strader later, but right now we're going to talk to Dr. Bob Dennis. Dr. Bob, of course, has developed over the last number of years the micropulse device from research that he did with NASA on coupled energetic pulsed magnetic fields to stimulate stem cells in the orbiting space station, and further research here on what's called bioreactors, actually places like Wake Forest, where they're doing 3D printing of organs, and research on stimulating and controlling and turning off pain, stimulating healing. The micropulse device is an amazing little device with 2 sets of electrodes, a little device that runs on a 9-volt battery. It's extremely portable, very, very safe. Dr. Bob, tell us all about the MG12.
All about the, what was that, Bill?
Tell us all about the about the micropulse.
The micropulse. Well,
micropulse device, you see, is kind of an amazing little technology. If you have pain anywhere, you can slap it on, and within a matter of minutes, the pain's going away. It also stimulates healing at an amazing rate that's been proven in laboratory settings.
Well, that's right. And the micropulse is, one half of the answer, I think, to regenerative medicine. You and I have discussed, and you've spoken many times about 3D printing of organs and bioreactors, and there's an interesting paradox with that, because that's only half of the answer is the right sort of structure, the right substrate. You have to have the right signals as well. And the way that you can prove this to yourself mentally is that the problem of transplant organs. You can take a perfectly healthy organ out of an organism, but once it's removed from that organism and it doesn't have the sort of systemic signals, any organ that you attempt to transplant will degenerate within about 72 hours to the point where it's not usable. And this has been a known problem since the beginning of transplant, medicine back in the early 20th century. This was discovered by Alexis Carroll and another famous biomedical engineer who really built the first bioreactors, that organs simply cannot live, even if they're perfectly constructed, outside of the milieu of chemicals in the body. And so this is why it's really important to have both the signal and the substance together. You can't be missing one or the other, or you get, not only do you not get regeneration, you can't even maintain the health of organs in the body.
That's kind of amazing, isn't it? It means the magnetic pulses, and again, this is research we talked about yesterday with Michael from China, with the quantitative resonant magnetic analysis machine developed by Dr. Zhu, and the research from Dr. Nesterov and the Russian Space Agency with the 8D LRIS and the Metatron, that specific frequencies that are transmitted through biophotons actually regulate the epigenetics and the organ, and they basically are energetic fields of biophotons that can be influenced by magnetic coupling. And there are specific frequencies that are very therapeutic that you've researched over a number of years, and you don't need a lot of high energy. You need the right frequency to get the right coupling effect.
Well, that's right. That's right. It has to do with the signal-to-noise ratio, as we've talked about that many times, which involves, how much of your signal actually contains useful information, as opposed to how much of your signal is just background noise. And, the analogy to that is, thinking about like a radio signal. If the signal is absolutely crisp and clear, you don't have to have the volume up very high. But if the radio signal is kind of noisy and scratchy, you need to turn the volume up so that you can discern the information that's in the signal. So one of the keys in perfecting the signal is to have the signal-to-noise ratio maximized and optimized. It's sort of like making the best possible substrate chemicals. You want to have all the things in there that you need and none of the things in there that you don't need. And it's it's an analogous situation. So in the sense of like a chemical or a substrate, we talk about purity. In the sense of a signal, we talk about signal-to-noise ratio.
Yeah, that's right. The signal-to-noise ratio is really important. That's why we have things like extracellular matrix for mountain red velvet. That's why we give the body the right minerals to actually stimulate the epigenetics to turn on the enzyme induction of messenger RNA. But if you have the right substance and signal, which are activated forms of vitamins, albion chelate minerals, special enzymes, and you have the right signal, you have an amazing healing combination. And it really has remarkable effects on the body, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this is when you start to see synergistic effects. You might get a 5 or 10% healing if you just really optimize one or the other. So you maybe might get 5 or 10% improvement if you optimize the substrate alone with no actual signal, or maybe you get nothing. If you optimize the signal alone, but you don't have the substrate to go with it, you might see some slight improvement. But it's when you get both of them right that you see really rapid regeneration and really significant improvements in health. You just have to have both.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for example, most people don't realize that every disease requires what's called a low redox state, and that basically means a low electron density in their cytochromes. And it also requires what's called the proper induction. Much of what we call aging or disease is either gene silencing or gene basically turning on and off genes that should not be turned off, like an orchestra. For example, cancer is epigenetic turning on and off of genes caused by intracellular pathogens like mycobacteria, fungi, viruses, and the presence of toxins. So, in fact, autoimmune disease is, again, just the production of antigens on the surface of the cell caused by abnormal gene activation. When you start getting the right signal-to-noise ratio, you start getting the proper expression again of the genes, and you tend to repair the DNA, silence the abnormal genes turning on and off, and you also tend to activate the intracellular antipathogenic mechanisms to clear pathogens from the cell, so the genes revert back to normal. So a lot of diseases that we don't understand are actually tied in with this signal and substance issue. That's why using things like the bioreactors and organ printing and morphogenic field therapy, we now have what's called the Metatron and the ADLRS that we hooked up to create a morphogenic field. The most portable little healing device that I've found that's amazing is a little micropulse, and I just love it. It's in fact, you can put it almost anywhere. If you're trying to regenerate eyes or your brain after you get conked on the head or you've had some neurological problems, you can use a headband and just put the electrodes there. If you have it around your knee, you can wrap it around the knee with Velcro. And if you have a particular organ area, let's say your kidneys, if you're trying to regenerate kidney function, take the right nutraceuticals to help heal the kidneys, or even stem cell therapy like Nutrimedical, and you put the pulse magnetic field over that area, and you're going to get up to 400% increase in stem cell activation. The devices come down, not only improved dramatically in technology, but the price has dropped $1,000 since a year ago. So now with our code Dr. Deagle, DR Deagle, you can actually get it under $400. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Now, we've had a lot of people who've looked at it, and I think they need to stop just being looky-loos, but actually starting the technology. They'll be so on fire, they'll say, I have to have a second machine to loan to my relatives and friends because they don't want to give their own personal machine away. And they're so inexpensive, how can you go wrong?
Well, this is correct, Bill. And, we find that most of our customers are repeat customers. And I think I mentioned this to you last time, so that does tell you something about what people think about the product once they've gotten it and used it. Very typically, we'll sell one to somebody, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, they'll buy like 1 or 2 more, and just so that they have them. So that tells us we're doing something right. We just need to get the word out there so that people go ahead and give it a try.
Right. Now, what are the kind of testimonials you're hearing? Because I get some pretty amazing ones where people start using it, their pain disappears within a half an hour, their tissues heal so quickly they avoid joint replacement, they stop repetitive motion like carpal tunnel syndrome, migraine headaches, help to reverse things like congestive heart failure and kidney dysfunction. It's just amazing. Again, the code to use is DR Deagle. Dr. Deagle, go to the Associates link for Micropulse on the front page of Nutrimedical.com and contact Dr. Bob Dennis and get a Micropulse today. Thank you, Bob. Just stay right there.
In the U.S. alone, a home invasion occurs every 13 seconds. On top of that, the average response time for 911 is over 15 minutes. That just won't cut it. Don't allow yourself or the important people in your life to be victims. When seconds matter, don't be caught stumbling for your firearm. Get the protection you deserve. Get yourself a hidden holster from hiddenholster.com. It's the original hidden holster. The hidden holster is quick, easy, and convenient. It's versatile enough for the home, workplace, or virtually anywhere else you might need it. Have peace of mind with your firearm close by at all times. Go to hiddenholster.com. That's hiddenholster.com. If you own a firearm, you need a hidden holster. Your protection matters, and self-defense is the best defense. Go to hiddenholster.com. That's hiddenholster.com. The original hidden holster.
And welcome back, and we have Tom Strader. Tom, MG12, I just had my MG12 salts today. By the way, I have a question for you. This is a technical question. If you have a septic field, the Dead Sea salts don't damage your septic field, do they?
No. In fact, I am on well water, and I have a septic tank system, and I haven't had no issues with that. And I've been.
I don't know why people put that out.
About 3 weeks. Yeah. 3 months. 3 years. I'll get it right in a minute, Doc.
Yeah, no, what I would think is the exact opposite. In fact, the probiotic bacteria in your tank will actually be stimulated by the magnesium and the other trace minerals rather than destroyed.
Yes.
Right. If you have any information on that, I wonder if you could email it to me as well, because I have people ask me that question all the time. If I have, on a septic field, will this, my using these salts in my bath do any damage? And people have these disturbing ideas, and I don't know where they get it. Of course, the problem is people are Google geniuses. They read something by some person on the internet that doesn't really understand biology or physiology. And that's why the same thing with minerals. Doctors in the emergency department, I was one of the first doctors in the world to add magnesium to the advanced cardiac life support, as I mentioned back in 1978 when I was a resident in family internal medicine at the University of Calgary, working in the emergency department. And I had a number of people who were arresting, and I thought, well, they're not responding to calcium, so let's give them magnesium. Went back and researched the dog heart lab studies at Texas A&M, and decided to get magnesium and give it by injecting intracardiac needle or subclavian line directly into the heart. And I had people come back from Toussaint DuPont, full cardiac arrests that are in fine VFib, which usually means they're not going to go to coarse VFib, so they'll respond to the extra joules across their chest. And I had people back from hypothermic shock where they died basically under the water. As they say, you're not dead until you're warm and dead. If you're cold and dead, you're not really dead. You're just in suspended animation, which is why I've also worked out a formula to put people in suspended animation after a stroke, heart attack, or gunshot wound. So the ambulance could basically drop your cortical temperature and give you this shot of this special formula I put together that I'm going to launch here in this next year that basically will put you into suspended animation. When you want to heal the body, though, you need minerals, because every active site of every enzyme requires a mineral. In fact, it even turns on the messenger RNA to make the specific active sites of any enzyme in your body and structural proteins. So if you don't have the minerals, you can't make you. You can't photocopy yourself into the future. You need things like minerals first, then you need the extracellular matrix, you need the activated forms of vitamins that jump to gene defects. You need all those things, but the very first thing you need is minerals. And we have, of course, our tracks amino acid chelated minerals in all of our amazing supplements from Nutrimedical 7-star. But topically, you want them on the outside, ionic minerals from the Dead Sea, which contains 14 minerals that are not present in any ocean on Earth currently, but are in every ancient life form, including humans and every other life form, algae. And so when you take the Dead Sea minerals, you have the super formula life in them, trace minerals that are not present even in the current oceans. That's really pretty exciting. It also means you have magnesium, which is the key life mineral, plus all these trace minerals that actually counteract stress. Free radical stress, peroxynitrate, hydroperoxy radical, counterion to calcium, very important for the mitochondrial function. For basically DNA transcription requires magnesium for mitochondrial function. When you had some amazing results personally, and for people that have purchased the products, and you have the full line from the MG12 shampoo to the roll-on deodorant to the Healy Body Balm that I use every week when I go to my massage therapist, which is Wednesday mornings before the show. And it's amazing, isn't it? It really is. And I can't really start my day without my bath now. If I feel like I'm kind of tensed up and I'm in, having discomfort from too much exercise, I'll hop in the bath with my MG12 bath salts, and it's remarkable, isn't it?
Well, you bounce back, and I want to read a couple of accounts that we've received from end users that are saying specifically what it's helped them with. And this gentleman's name is Brian LUMEN. He is a Ironman. He is an elite triathlete and coach that's competing at the full Ironman and half Ironman World Championships this year. And here's what he says. I used all the products you gave me and that you gave Jennifer last Friday to give to me, knowing that I had a 114-mile ride on Saturday morning as part of a local training camp.
Wow.
I would be riding with a visiting pro triathlete and Olympian, so I knew that the pace would be pretty strong. I used the lotion and the oil on my legs, and I soaked in the bath salts that night. I put more of the MG12 oil on my legs the next morning before driving to meet everyone for the ride. I was surprised at how good my legs felt all day. I expected to struggle a bit toward the end of the ride, but instead I got much stronger. That's proof right there from a world-class triathlete Ironman. And here's one from a nurse. This is unbelievable. It is believable because I've seen it time and time again. I have suffered with fibromyalgia and arthritis for 5 years. I'm just in my early 40s. I came upon MG12 by accident. I had a patient using it, and I rubbed a small amount on my knees. In just very few short minutes, I could squat, bend, and walk without pain. I squat constantly at work and have been known to walk upwards of 10 miles a day. I am so relieved to have accidentally found this product. A small amount on my knees and ankles before my 12-hour shift, and I'm ready to go all day. I have been put on every kind of pain medication and physical therapy known to man, and nothing helped. It just put a mask on it. Thanks, thanks, thanks for letting me have my pain-free life back. I plan on introducing these products to my coworkers and my patients. Michelle, pain-free nurse.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah, that is really quite amazing.
This is for skin issue. This is really wonderful to hear the issue that this child had with eczema. My name is Chrissy Nelson, and I'm the mother of a 10-month-old little boy. My husband and I both have dry, sensitive skin, so needless to say, our son developed eczema when he was about 8 weeks old. He had dry, red, raised patches on his legs, stomach, back, head, and cheeks. We tried absolutely everything to heal his poor skin. We tried only giving him a bath every 2 days. We tried every heavy cream and eczema treatment available over the counter. We even took out all tropical fruits from his diet. I felt so sorry for him because you could tell it was itchy and uncomfortable for him. My mother, who works as an assistant at Mars Hill Chiropractic Center in North Carolina, discovered MG12 about 2 months ago. Since that time, I've been using the Magna soap on my son for his baths. After his bath, I liberally applied the body balm. His skin is completely healed. There is no trace that he ever struggled with eczema. Not only has it helped him with his dry skin, but he sleeps more soundly at night. Prior to using the MG12 products, he would toss and turn all night, even when he was asleep. He would also violently fight sleep by throwing tantrums and pulling his hair in his ears. He is now much more content and doesn't fight sleep at all. These products have literally changed my family's life.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Christy Nelson, son with eczema, no more.
Amazing. If you go to the Associates links for MG12, you see the big 5-sided magnesium with green magnesium on the Associates. Click that and you're going to get amazing savings there as well. If you go through our link, it will change your life. MG Nutrimedical Report. By the way, every hour is open lines, and I hope our phone lines are working today. We had some problems with the phones yesterday, but that's an anomaly. Usually they work fine. And if you have trouble calling through on the order line, in the call-in line, it's 800-259-5791. Simply call our orders line and just give the question to our person that's answering the phone. It could be Michelle, my wife, or Christopher, or Mitzi, or Stephen. And just give the message to them and a phone number, and we'll call you from the studio. Or if you have a Skype address, we'll just Skype message you. So either way, we'll get a hold of you. So again, the number 800-259-5791. Just 3 rules: stay on the topic that we're talking about, make your question or statement very brief, and no ad hominem attacks. And we will bring you on the air, and you'll have a great chance to voice your statement on any issue, but it has to be topical. The next expert we're going to have on the program is Bob Vineyard from Pure Water Systems. And one of the most important things you can do for health is to drink pure, clean water. Water that is pure enough that there is actually no toxins, no fluoride, no radiotoxins, no GPH jet fuel that'll show up even in distilled water, no viruses, bacteria, parasites, or cysts or spores from fungi. You need to have water that, and we have a whole host system that's fantastic for removing the trihalomethanes and other hydrocarbons and fluoride and so on, for cleaning and washing and bathing. We have the Pure Water System 300 with a 5-gallon reserve tank, which will refill within probably about 20 minutes. So you can get 50 to 100 gallons a day with that system. You can get a BEV 100 system that will provide about half as much water, but it's, again, you press the filtration system, it fills up your reserve tank immediately. It can snap on your tap in less than 2 to 5 minutes. It doesn't require any plumbing. It's very easy to use, and the filters on all the systems are very, very affordable. And of course, there are multiple types of systems. The filters are linear charcoal and extremely fine, high-quality sediment filter. Then the best RO membrane possible. Then an ion exchange resin system to actually pull up the last bit of toxins, and then to polish the water up with 9 to 18 parts per million calcium and magnesium to get them alkaline. Again, you don't want an alkalinizer. You want to alkalinize your water with magnesium and calcium. Hello, Bob. Let's talk about the advantages to the Pure Water System. I tell people it's pretty hard to consider that you're trying to help your health if you're drinking tap water or drinking bottled water that's still going to contain a lot of toxins. In fact, many of these bottled waters have fluoride in them. Many of the bottled waters are basically tap water or spring water that contains heavy metals and other garbage. And if people use any other water system, whether it's the Berkey, some energy system that's a vampire that takes energy out of the electrical wall in order to be able to filter water out of the air, still is going to pull in toxins from the air. Any of these other systems are inferior, and the problem is they will not remove some or a segment of the toxins you're going to get exposed to. Tell us what makes the Pure Water System so essential to get your health back.
Hi, Dr. Bill. Thanks for having me back. It's, our systems are so simple in their overall design, but so important, and critically important in today's world where, we're just bombarded with toxins, and so many of these toxins are, accumulate in the body. So they're xenoestrogen. Many of them are xenoestrogens. They stack up in the body. They bind to receptor sites that your body is expecting to see a hormone molecule show up, and instead what shows up is one of these toxins, phthalates or bisphenol or any one of a number of chemicals. We got chemicals here. All the people in the country that are taking all kinds of pharmaceuticals. Well, everybody knows that those pharmaceuticals aren't completely absorbed by the body. So, or they dump the darn things down the toilet when they expire, and they get into the water supply. And every time they do a study where they go out and they look for to see if there's some new chemical in the water supply, every time they do the study, they find it. Now, they might find it in a trace amount, and that's the important thing that's dangerous for people, that people need to understand. These trace amounts of molecules that are out there, these are molecules that are not regulated by the EPA. Your community is under no legal obligation to tell you that they're there. In fact, they won't tell you that they're there because I've seen this in the news so many times. We don't want to cause alarm. We don't want to give people. We don't want to get people startled. This is the comment from the people in the water, and of course, these guys, if they screw up, they're all worried about their jobs and liability. But all these chemicals that show up, if it's not on the EPA list, they don't have to tell you about it. And yet these chemicals, we know they're there. They're there in trace amounts, and we have no way of knowing what happens when these bind together. And so you've got this little toxic soup that you drink every day, that you make your coffee with, that you make your tea with, you make your iced tea, you cook, boil your noodles with, and all the time you're constantly bombarding yourself with these trace amounts of toxins. And these things are in your water in varying degrees in just about every community in the country. And so the important thing to do is, and this is the great thing about the BEV systems, they're called a point-of-use system. And you filter the water right before you use it. That way you know that you're not having biofilms accumulate in the pipes in your house. You're not having any other toxins show up. But right at the point of use, filter the water just before you use it. And then don't spend your hard-earned dollars to buy a system that only gets the job partially done. Carbon filters only get the job partially done. They remove and reduce contaminants to some degree. No, you won't find a carbon filter that says it removes mercury or arsenic. So our carbon doesn't touch heavy metals. Reverse osmosis is great, but it's only about 50% effective at nitrates and nitrites. Deionization by itself can be good, but it's extremely costly if you live in a community where there's a lot of total dissolved solids in the water, a lot of mineral salts in the water. So deionization by itself is very costly. Distillation can be a good method if you want to wait for 7 hours to make a gallon of water and use about 1,400 watts of electricity the whole time while you're boiling and cooling a gallon of water. And then you got to have a good carbon filter afterwards to make sure you get all the volatile organic carbon compounds that will evaporate with the water and condense in the distillate. So any single system is not going to protect you. And the number of and variety of contaminants that exist in the environment and in your water supply is far more than any one filter or one technology is going to be able to cope with. And that's why Pure Water Systems makes a hybrid system. In a hybrid system, everybody uses carbon because, number one, it gets rid of chlorine. Chlorine hurts the next part of our system. If it gets to it, chlorine will hurt the reverse osmosis membrane. But carbon also, if you have good contact time, you have the water in contact with the carbon for a long time, not just flowing through some skinny little sidewall of a filter, but flowing through the full bed of carbon in the filter at a very slow rate, you'll also remove not just chlorine, but a lot of organic molecules, pesticides, herbicides, industrial solvents. So our system uses carbon as a pre-filter, reverse osmosis, and the best membrane available. You can't get a better RO membrane than what we use in our systems. In fact, we have a contract with the manufacturer that makes our membranes for us, kind of a joint venture partner where we invested in their facilities, and we get membranes center cut, center of the roll, best quality of the membrane, and guaranteed rejection rate, 97%, minimum rejection, typically 98% or better when it's new. Now, our membranes, after 3 years, are probably only down to 90%. Most other membranes on the market are down to 80% in as little as 6 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we follow that with deionization. Dr. Bill will, through the Nutrimedical website, you can use the promo code Nutrimed, N-U-T-R-I-M-E-D, to save 10%. You can go to our site, purewatersystems.com.
And welcome back. And we are trying to track down Deborah Tavares. She has some amazing new water board news about here in California. Pretty remarkable what the government thinks they're going to get away with. They're probably going to end up getting sued in court over the forced vaccination. Now, of course, the forced water control freak people. In fact, the comments by the governor are pretty amazing. The man probably belongs in a psychiatric facility after the comments made that the population of California should be reduced to 500,000. Well, we're close to 40 million here in California. That's pretty obscene. I mean, that would immediately disqualify him as being governor of a state now that would literally have mass migration or death of the majority of the population. So we have a pretty bizarre person in the so-called state governor of California. He's a control freak or he's a Satanist or both. So pretty darn bizarre. And the California Water Board, of course, we're trying to see if they can, in Northern California, turn off the water to many communities, destroy farms, and literally destroy the real estate property values. Many of the areas in Northern California where this is affected now, their real estate prices have dropped already 25%, which means many of these homes are going to be upside down. I heard a very bizarre comment. We're going to try to get him on the program to talk about it. Senator Rand Paul trying to float the idea of a flat tax. Of course, flat tax is, again, tied directly to globalism and to international taxes that would be very nasty. I think we need to make sure that the international transnational corporations are paying the fair share, but without tax write-off, small business would be out of business. So this idea that they want to have a flat tax for everybody and they're going to cap it really low, etc., you'll be able to help the poor a little bit, not much. But what you'll do is you'll destroy their ability to get a job because the middle and smaller businesses won't exist anymore. They'll cease to exist. And the large transnational corporations, just like Walmart, and I read that today they had hidden up to $78 billion avoiding taxes in the United States and other countries by hiding them in all kinds of tax shelters. So the transnational corporations will get away like bandits. They'll still get away because they can hide things in countries around the world in assets and all kinds of different very creative means of hiding assets. And the small and medium-sized business and the people who have slight substance will be wiped out, which means the people who create jobs will disappear. So, Rand Paul, you need to get somebody that works in better math. This idea of a flat tax will not work without reasonable write-offs for corporations to run. Just look at the corporate rate here, for example, in America. If you say you're going to get rid of the mortgage tax deduction, there's been a massive increase in sales of homes because of the low mortgage rates and the fact you can write it off. If your campaign is failing, you need to get on issues that actually make sense, not things that are stupid. So this one is a stupid idea, and it'll probably deep six your campaign if you continue pushing it. So we want to get on the program to kind of make sense of what you're talking about, because I don't see this as being a very logical thing at all. Now, the other thing I think we should talk about is all the other amazing things we do here at Nutrimedical to try to help get you well. We had a great show yesterday on the 4th hour with Michael from China talking about the quantitative resonant magnetic machine, the bioplasm, and a latest version called the 8DLRS and Metatron. We also are still taking information and emails from people who are interested. We got Ron. Wonderful. Ron, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for calling in. Ron, I want to talk about lumen photon, and again, we're going to have you on later as well talking about this. It's important for people to understand how important that you have to have the right signal, and we talk about this with the micropulse from NASA with Dr. Bob Dennis. One of my favorite machines is the lumen photon, and this lumen machine is quite amazing because the frequency of life is infrared light. It's interesting. If you learn, like I have, taken advanced training in chemistry, what you find is that light is actually the frequency at which you can actually look at the bonding pattern of molecules, whether it's a pi bonding or double bonding or imidazole ring. You can actually look at the structure of a molecule based on its vibrational frequencies with infrared light. And the way the body communicates frequencies to turn on and off genes, to regulate the size of an organ or tissue, to regulate enzyme activation, is the cells, in a sense, look at using the cell membrane as a liquid crystal microprocessor. It looks at the frequency of infrared light to switch genes on and off and to regulate cell growth, healing, and regeneration. So when you use infrared light like lumen photon, there's 7 frequency settings, and there's also a combination called NICO. The NICO setting was particularly researched for reversing cavitations around the teeth, but it's good for healing pretty well any tissue. If we look at frequency 7, it's particularly good for things like reducing intraocular pressures. Number 6, also anti-inflammatory. The primary frequencies we use for major tissues are 3, 4, and 5. Can we talk about that a bit? Because Dr. Nogier, that did this research, was not only a medical intuitive, but he's also a very good scientist, and looked at the actual infrared frequencies of tissue, mesenchymal, endoderm, and ectoderm tissues, and actually worked out the frequencies that entrain the tissue and allow it to speed up the process of what we call signal-to-noise to stimulate circulation, genetic expression of messenger RNA and proteins, and healing. So can we talk about that for a moment? Because it's really important for people to understand how these things work.
What's that?
Yeah, it was important for people to understand how Dr. Nogier's
research. Go ahead, run with that, because this is really critical. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us all about it.
Well, there are 7 frequencies that Dr. Nogier was able to discern on either side of the spectrum there. And they're all pulsing at the very precise frequencies of the ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm tissues, which become everything that's normal and healthy in our bodies, and they pulse at these. So when these lights, our lights are pulsing at these frequencies, which are pulsing, we don't see the pulsations, but it really does work that very fastly, that rapidly. And what it's doing is it's feeding the body back with normal, healthy tissue. It brings more oxygen in. It brings more circulation to the area. So it does all of those things at the same time. So it's helping our bodies rebuild, re-nourish itself. It helps to flush out what we've already processed and move that on out. And it helps to do all of those things. It helps with our eyes. It helps with our brain. We can use it to help our hearts to function if we really get weak. It's just about everything that you can use it. Something like diabetic neuropathy responds. This is a treatment. It's not a cure, but the effect that it has is if you use it on a consistent basis, typically 3 to 4 times a week, and use it on with the frequencies again, it will restore the circulation and the lymph function, everything like that. You can live as if you didn't have it, but you have to be conscious of what's going on. So it's very, very, very incredible there. People that use it for over the eyes to improve their vision. We've had people that started out using it for wrinkles on their faces and found out that their eyes are getting better. And my wife is one who actually started using it for vision because she started wearing glasses when she was 4 years old. And she's always had to wear glasses. And she's had her vision prescription actually moved backwards. She's actually improved her eyes to the point that they had to change her prescription backwards 3 times, which is basically unheard of. So
that really is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's staggering that for the first time it was really nerve-wracking because she started, I'm losing my sight, I can't see very well. I can't believe I'm losing my sight. And it turned out to be wrong. It turned out to be wow. So that was amazing.
She thought at first it was the opposite, that she was having other problems, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. That's funny too.
Yeah, and when you're using it on the eyes, it's also increasing the circulation, lymph functions right into the brain. So while you're doing this, because it's going to penetrate from one right through to the back of the skull.
Exactly. Now we have the smaller, the 90, the larger size. My favorite is the 264 dual pads. Their most popular is the single pad, 132. These devices, you don't need to buy any new electrodes. You're good for literally life. You take good care of the electrodes and wires and so on. And all you need is electricity. It's so portable. You can have a portable battery pack. You can put it in a little device in your vehicle, or if you're flying. It's amazing. These are amazing for healing, for turning off migraines, stimulating healing of your heart, your brain, your liver, detoxification. Light. It is the frequency of life. Is the frequency of infrared light, far near infrared light. It's amazing. Get a Lumen Photon today and heal. You can use that with the micropulse too if you'd like. You get double the effect. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 2 coming up.